Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another beautiful evening with us on Live with Lloyd. I'm your host, astronumerologist Lloyd Strayhorn for this Wednesday, the 29th of October. This month is almost a wrap for the most part. As you see, I have my very distinguished guest that's back on, Uchenna Hackett, who is he's now an author, which is where we're going to focus our energies at. But he's a whole lot more family man and excellent father, all those wonderful things. But in the meantime, though, I do want to thank everybody for joining me. And before I do bring him on, as you know, I do. Oops, here we go. First of all, before I start, I do want to thank Jazz Aphrodite this past Monday. She and that guest were excellent. And I looked at the so-called, it's not the so-called, it is called a spread, right? But for me, it's like, I was very confused, but that's why I'm going to have her on a week from today with Eric Taylor. Going to be talking about that. He's going to be putting the astrology together. She's going to be putting the cardology together. So they're going to use that cosmic energy to bring everything together. So it's going to be on November the 8th. So a week from today, the 5th, I will have them both on to explain what they do. Maybe you'll get a taste of everything and see how it goes from there. In the meantime, let me tell you that the Cosmic Forecast is brought to you by the Live with Lloyd. It's please like, share, subscribe. Today is Wednesday. It is the 29th. The sun is in Scorpio. The moon is in Aquarius. It's a 1 universal month, a 5 universal week, a 3 universal day. So those in the audience who are Sagittarians and Pisces, or if you're born on the 3rd, the 12th, the 21st, or the 30th of the month, like my good buddy who will be on, he's a number 3. This is obviously your day. Our sponsor is brought to you by Numerolitics, Melinda Valentine. So all you have to do is please reach out to her for consultation. She also, because we are in a water period now officially, this is a part of her 4-part element journal that she has. So next month it'll be fire, since we'll be in the sign of Sagittarius. But for those who are water, this would be a good journal for you to have. Also, my guest, Uchenna Hackett, is an author. We're going to be talking about this book. He has put out a journal, and he has been sponsoring the show. This man has done so much for me. It's incredible, but these are the things we're going to be talking about in a minute. Also, the show is being sponsored by Manifest on Purpose with Miss Kimberly. She herself is a new author. I think they both did it around about the same time. Hers was in August, his was in September. But anyway, if you go to Amazon, purchase the book, leave a review, take a screenshot, email it to her at Manifest on Purpose. She will prepare a kind of a business thing. It's gratis too. And she's also now come out with a companion piece with it also. November, about 3 weeks from now, King Simon will be celebrating, I think, 33 years of doing this. He will be at Nicholas, Brooklyn, and that's at 1396 Fulton Street. And speaking of that, Nicholas Brooklyn is one of our main sponsors, is celebrating over 50 years in business. And this Saturday, they're going to have this distinguished author on. In fact, she was on the Breakfast Club recently. And so for those of you, she is the CEO of a business that's going back about 3 generations, literally. So it will be interesting to meet her, get a copy of her book. That will be this Saturday, November the 1st from 12 to 2 p.m. And also Reset, which is one of our newest sponsors. If you click on the QR code, it acts like an AI receptionist. So for those of you who want to set up a business with a professional polish, this is it. So without further ado, I do want to bring on my very distinguished guest. His name is, I call him Uchenna. Uchenna, how you doing, buddy? Ho. Let me see. I see. Got it. How we doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good, Lloyd. How are things with you?
I am fine, thank you. Congratulations. He is also the creator and founder of UJuice products. But then he went into a transformation over the last, what, 6 months, maybe 6, 7 months?
Yes. Total transformation.
He wound up being an author.
Total transformation. My God.
He's learned quite a bit. So tell us about this amazing book that's, and in fact, this book is being actually printed. It'll be out later on, I think this week or next week, as he says. But in the meantime, if you want to get the ebook, just go to Amazon, click on Soul First, Uchenna Hackett, and just download it onto your computer or tablet or whatever the case is. What Chinna inspired this book?
Well, this book, as I said before on the show, I've been working doing a process called Me Time since 2014. And I've realized that your soul, which nobody in the scientific community, which I respect a lot, ever named the soul as the source of energy. So what we have is words, I call them code words for soul, like consciousness or, conscience. We have higher self. We have all these different intuition, gut feelings, but no one is naming the soul itself. So it's like the sun. The sun, of course, as we know, could be described as different things. It's a source of energy for the entire world, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But for the sun, we can say it's solar energy. We can say it provides photosynthesis for the plants. Um, it For us, it represents cholesterol production and vitamin D. So it's very, very wide spectrum. The sun, it's many, many uses. But what powers the human body? The sun powers us, but what powers the human body is the question. And the answer to that question is, which we all know instinctively, is the soul. So in 2014, I met with a German, I met a German doctor who said he cured over 30 something thousand people from cancer. He didn't say soul, and he didn't, his process is different than mine, but he gave me a clue. If you can cure diseases without any medication, then it had to have something about it. So, in medicine, we talk about the placebo effect. So you could program someone, which is what he does. It's called neuro linguistic programming. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
you would give these suggestions and people believe them and then they heal. It's not scientific, so it's not like a repeatable thing. Science likes something that is repeatable. So if you give this person this herb or this drug at this dose, we get this result. Science is happy, right? You have a control group, so then they can say, well, okay, it's not just their mind made them better, but this the actual compounds in the plant or herb or drug made them better, right? So anyway, in 2014, I had a client who had hypertension and she had phobias and she couldn't afford herbs. So I said, well, let me try this process of reconnecting her to her soul. Now, I'm not saying soul in an abstract way. I'm saying soul in a very measured way because I'm a scientist first. So I like, just like the scientist, I like measurements. I like
Mm-hmm.
structure. So we say soul has two parts. The first part of the soul we can measure biologically. The last 30 years, many studies have started linking purpose, forgiveness, love, reciprocity to measurable effects in the human body. So, in that patient, I told you about her blood pressure was high, and after doing the emotional work, her blood pressure normalized without any medication. Her phobias went away, her fears went away. She healed a very deep wound with her daughter, which was deeply troubling her. When the daughter saw the change in the mother, she came for treatment. She was highly addicted to various things. I gave her the keys and she also stopped her addictions. It was such a wonderful story. But the point is, people are sick primarily because they don't realize that meaning is medicine,
Could you
or
repeat
that
that?
purpose, meaning is
Uh-huh.
medicine.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a soul that has energetic requirements. In my book, I call them soul energetic requirements. What are they? I mentioned them a while ago: truth, reciprocity, love, purpose. Why do I call them soul energetic requirements? Because just as we require sunlight or oxygen or food, the soul is not abstract energy. The soul, which the people of Kemet 3,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, called the Ka, Ke, which is the vital energy that powers all humans. But in Kemet, the soul or Ka was linked to morality. So they had 42 laws, which most people today know, which we call the laws of Ma'at. So Ka, or their vital energy, was linked to Ma'at, truth and balance. It was linked completely to your biology as well. So there was no health without understanding the energetic requirements, or what we could call morality in medicine as well. But it's not just morality, it's purpose. In fact, of all the things that affects the human body, purpose seems to be the one that extends life by 7 whole years longer than any drug or medication or any other intervention. By the way,
Are
purpose
you
extends life
how
7.
did you come across that? So in other words, you're saying that for people to live a normal and long life, they should have purpose?
Yes.
How do you
This is
define
not me
purpose?
saying so. This is not me saying so. When I wrote this book, I did so much deep research. I've been researching for the 13 years, of course, in my clinic. I can't tell you how many members I've at, because I've never stopped learning. I've never stopped trying to find solutions. So remember, when I see clients, some people cannot afford my treatment plans, even though it's highly affordable. So I had to find different ways to treat with them. Or I find that herbs or cleansers or fasting alone, because of course I do functional blood chemistry, I do hypertension checks, we check their blood pressure gauges, their blood sugar, we check everything. But some people do very well and some people don't. So this leads me to a test now that we have recently started doing, which is called HRV. I mentioned HRV before. HRV is heart rate variability. It is the space between the beats of the heart, not the beat itself. So boop, boop, the space in between, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that space in between has a variability. Every 1 second or 1,000 milliseconds, the heart beats and there's a space and it beats. Now, if that space has high variability, meaning that it goes from 1,000 down to 940 and then maybe 980 and then maybe 1,000 again, then the variability is like 20 to 30 milliseconds. That variability makes it high and healthy. It is the single non-invasive, most effective measure for longevity for sudden cardiac arrest, regardless of your cholesterol levels, or even there's a medical test called injection fraction, where they see how the heart is pumping the blood, okay, from
Mm-hmm.
the artery. And that value also tells the doctor your chances, how long you will live. But HRV, not by itself, but along with these other medical markers, predicted longevity better than anything else. It also predicts your truth. And this is why I think I would have mentioned polygraph machines the first time I did this show, about maybe 2 months ago. We talk about a polygraph test, but HRV, even before someone tells a lie, the HRV goes from high, if it's high, to low, even before the word comes out of your mouth. So it's detecting essentially a soul energetic requirement for truth. So it means that lack of truth or sincerity, lack of being able to express your truth. People think it just is about telling a lie or not. No, it's, I would say, is the most damaging lie we suffer is the one we don't speak. In other words, someone may be troubling you, or you can't say easily say no, so then you just don't. I had a client who I did me time with. Anytime she's stressed out, she completely disappears. You can't get her on the phone. She just runs, right? At the end of doing her session, she was able, I mean, I didn't think it would have changed her drastically, but she was able to process her life differently, be able to speak her truth much more easily, establish, I don't like this word, but these, set up your barriers, or boundaries rather. And I don't like the word boundary, because you shouldn't have to set a boundary if you just speak your truth.
Well, that seems to be a very popular word. I do. Before I continue, I got a text saying that they can see you, but they can't see me. Can
Yeah,
you
I
see
can't.
me?
No, I'm not. In fact, I meant to say that I'm also not seeing you. I
This
thought it
is
was just me. I thought it was just me on the back end. But I wasn't sure why. If it was also on YouTube as well.
no. And see, from my angle, I see me. Let me do
Hmm.
this camera a second. I have no idea what's going on here in my camera. Okay, let me do this. All right, can you see me yet?
Nope,
All
not
righty.
yet.
Okay, my friend, you may have to do this. This is crazy. And I see me. I see me with you.
Wow.
And I'm glad that my visual effects, okay. That is so crazy. What happened again? Um, I'm having
It
another
is.
person. So continue to explain and we'll get this straight.
Yeah.
Okay. Continue to
Well,
explain by yourself and you get it straight.
yes. Where was I? So the HRV score, which is really what I was trying to bring up about whenever you lie, before you lie, it shifts. But I talked about the fact that people can't speak their truth. And it's easy to say that, but the specificity of it, the measurement of it is HRV. So science can measure your alignment. So you can say you're aligned, but if I put you on my HRV machine, it will tell me if you're aligned or not, is what I'm trying to say. So we have the first evidence-based book that suggests that we can now measure spirituality. You see, before there was always this massive separation between soul and science. It was not so 5,000 years ago in Kemet in Egypt. But over time, in the colonized world, everything changed and men essentially abandoned. In fact, Hippocrates basically was famous for saying that we're going to remove gods from medicine. I understand his logic, but by removing spirituality from medicine, leaving spirituality or soul to the church, what happened was we humans had to separate themselves. You see? So if you are in a corporate environment, you have a different way you speak than if you, let's just say, in a church or a mosque or wherever you worship, is that you are a different self. That makes any sense? So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we have to separate ourselves from relationships. For example, people tend to behave differently when they feel seen or when they feel taken advantage of. Many times people don't even know that they're taking advantage of your kindness, let's just say that, because you just didn't say, and people are not mind readers. So
True.
it's
True.
important for us is important for people to be able to say, but there's a reason why, especially in the Black community, this is very difficult. And the reason is because at the end of slavery, you were not allowed to talk. In my book, I talked about, where when I grew up, the mother would say, be seen and not be heard. And your voice was never really important. They would listen to you not keenly. It's almost like they tolerate what you're saying, especially when you're growing up. So your voice was largely suppressed. And that suppression means that you react in two ways. Either when you grow up, you become very loud, right? And in many cases, many cases insensitive because nobody was sensitive to you. So you didn't learn that. Or you realize that speaking is dangerous. And it was safer to say nothing than to say something. Can you imagine? So we have two extremes in society today. One we call a narcissist. But I should tell you guys that there is no narcissist under the age of 12. So somebody who is classified as a narcissist is someone who really did not receive the love they needed to. And they told themselves love is not safe, logic is safe, and so I have to make myself the center of my world. I can't depend on anyone anymore. It's not to justify the ways that somebody is, it's just to understand why they are the way they are. So in the book, I talk about living soul first and understanding what happened to us. So the book is a book of history. In chapter 5, we talk about the day the world lost its soul. I talked about, the Greeks and then the Romans who didn't invent it, but they perfected rhetoric, or what we call debate culture. So everyone in debate culture wanted to win an argument, and this works for politics, it even works for scientific debate, but the need to win overrides the need for harmony, overrides the need for wisdom. So in other words, somebody may be actually wrong about something, but because of who is saying it is wrong, it now becomes a pill you cannot swallow, because there's no way in your training you were taught that it's okay to say, I'm wrong, I'm sorry, which goes back to one of the top soul energetic requirements, which is forgiveness.
Oh man, that's a very hard thing to find.
And forgiveness in a study raised your immune system. In patients with HIV, their CD4 count, which is their immune system count, increased through journaling and forgiveness. So in other words, HRV, so I'm going back to HRV now, heart rate variability, is checking your soul health, it's checking your stress levels, your parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. Fancy words, it just means that you have part of your brain that says rest and digest, which is your parasympathetic, or what we call the female principle. And then you have your sympathetic nervous system, which is flight or fight. So when we look at HRV, if HRV is low, it means that you are more in your male principle or sympathetic or stress mode more than you are in your rest and digest mode. So when HRV is high, you are more leaning towards rest and digest. So in other words, even if I were to give someone a probiotic, let's just use a probiotic now. Probiotics affect your gut. Yes, your gut has 500 million neurons, and that's where intuition is broadcast. In fact, when you are in love, even the butterflies get broadcast in the gut. You don't feel butterflies in your brain. You don't feel them in your big toe. You feel them in your gut. Your gut is a brain.
Yeah, in fact, they'll say I have butterflies in my stomach.
At the same time, when you eat the wrong things or you get bad news, you feel it there first. It's 500 million nerves or neurons. Your heart has 40,000 of them, and your heart and gut sends more signals to your brain than your brain sends to your heart. I want to break this down. This particular point is very, very important for listeners, viewers to understand themselves. We have something called a vagus nerve that goes from the brain and connects the organs. So it connects the heart, it connects the lungs, it connects the gut, right? This nerve is literally hardwired to prioritize 80% of the signals upward. In other words, you have 80% of the information traveling towards the brain, and the brain only has 20%. Which means that the brain only tells the body what to do 20% of the time. So is the brain king? Is logic king? You can't even think straight unless your heart and gut allows you to. Do you know when you are scared or in fear mode or maybe in doubt mode, your prefrontal cortex, which is where learning happens and executive functions happen, literally shuts down because your amygdala, which is where fear and doubt is, takes over. So your ability to learn and listen and make a good decision is based on your gut feeling. So this is why when somebody, maybe has a hot poop or pee or belly ache or, you can't think straight. And they say, I can't think straight. I can't remember. I can't anything. The other thing with the brain is the only way that you can remember something is when you make it meaningful. This is why we say meaningful is not just medicine, or meaning is not just medicine. Meaning is memory. I want to repeat that. Meaning is memory. Can I prove it? So I remember I just told you about the amygdala. The amygdala is a fancy medical term for that part of your brain where fear and doubt is.
Yes.
Can I make you remember? Can I make you remember that now forever? By adding some meaning to it?
How so?
Let's first make a story. Okay? Because humans learn through story and song, because those activate the prefrontal cortex and the hippocampus, which is where memories occur. So I'm going to teach you all 3 parts of your brain that until most people don't remember them, but I'm going to use meaning to make you remember now. So the hippocampus, we call it the hippo on the clouds. So the hippo remembers. The hippo has your book, right, with all your files and your whole life stored. And it does not have a lock off point that says hard drive full. So hippo is hippocampus, okay? Right. Now, hippo only remembers when Amy, which is the amygdala, so Amy is short for the amygdala, okay? So hippo only remembers when Amy, the amygdala, is calm. If Amy, which is there for your survival, so if a lion ran into Lloyd's home right now, Amy is very functional. Amy makes cortisol, adrenaline, testosterone. She even makes endorphins. This is why if you ever was in a fight before, you don't even feel any pain until afterwards, because Amy making, again, Amy's the amygdala, triggers the adrenals to make cortisol, adrenaline, testosterone to make you run the fastest you'll ever run, jump the highest you'll ever jump. This is the functional part of Amy. But when there is no lion and Amy is afraid, hippo cannot remember because there is no meaning.
No emotion behind it.
Right. So we learn about hippo now. So what about preco? I'm calling the prefrontal cortex preco. The prefrontal cortex sits right behind here, okay? So preco runs the executive functions. Preco wants to learn things and pass them to hippo to remember. And Amy, the amygdala, is essentially saying, I am afraid. I can't learn this because this is too hard, or maybe what I'm learning doesn't mean anything to my life. And this is why, based on studies, I have this research in my book as well. You can learn something. You could go to school for 5 years or 10 years or even 20 years, learn. And if you go back to do any one of the exams that you passed before, you will not pass it. Even if 6 months pass after the exam, you will not pass the same exam. Because most people are studying things that have no meaning. They study them because of the moolah, because of the money, and there is no meaning. So it's not a living science in their heart and their soul. So you cannot remember. The hippocampus, cannot remember unless preco goes out to learn something. The prefrontal cortex goes to learn something that makes it, that gives the heart meaning, that fills your heart's purpose. But you think, and I used to think, that logic was king. I want to repeat myself now. Between the prefrontal cortex, I'm going back to HRV now, because when your HRV is low, the prefrontal preco can't learn because Amy is in control. When HRV is high, the prefrontal cortex is in control, the hippocampus is in control, and your heart is activated, because the only way, or one of the main ways to have high HRV is to live in purpose. And in fact, purpose, forgiveness, love, and truth are so important that there are other things to raise HRV, by the way, when it's low. For example, exercise will raise your HRV, diet will raise your HRV, meditation raises the HRV in studies, but it does not raise the baseline permanently unless you keep doing it. But what I call your soul energetic requirements raises it much higher than anything else. So in other words, when we say live soul first, it is not philosophy, it is physiology, which is the physical body. Because living soul first means that any medical intervention you take, I'll give you one more example of how the body works. Within your villi, well, before the villi, your small intestine has some very small hairs called villi. And when you have an excessive production of cortisol, it flattens the villi, and you cannot absorb nutrients as easily or as well as you would like to. So, again, when HRV is low, it tells me that you're suffering from malabsorption. So even if you're taking probiotics or herbs or whatever people spend their money on these days, or a drug, the effectiveness of the drug will not work as well because, or may not work at all, because your ability to absorb it isn't there, because your gut is not done with the program that your life is on. This is why my grandmother would say, and many of your grandmothers would say, you know, when you're eating, you shouldn't eat and talk. You should eat and be quiet, because you're trying to go in rest and digest mode so that you can absorb the things that you're eating. So everything is connected, but no one made the connections. So morality and meaning is medicine, it's memory, it's longevity. In sports, they use HRV as well, because when you have a professional athlete, there is such a thing as overtraining. So they check the HRV to see when they're fully recovered before they give them more training.
Mm-hmm.
So elite athletes, their coaches are using HRV, the same HRV test. HRV tells you when you are in flow. So, for example, most people know Bob Marley was a big weed smoker for calm. And the reason why, of course, you can take a drug to get calm as well. But every artist know that when you get calm, your best ideas come. But you shouldn't have to take a drug to get calm. Your life should be the calm, you see? But nonetheless, I'm not saying you shouldn't take something to be calm. I'm just saying that if your HRV is where it needs to be, then you could get into flow states without taking something to get into flow states. So the journal and the book essentially gives us the tools that we never had before, because I've been doing this now for 13 years. This book I've written really has over 13 years of solid me sitting with patients, me understanding their blood chemistry, how it relates to their lifestyle. Because remember, today we don't suffer from disease, we suffer from a chronic lifestyle disease. We don't suffer from disease, we suffer from a chronic lifestyle that causes disease. So in my practice, I've always asked the question, how do we fix what is chronic? And the way to do that is not easy, because you see, Amy the amygdala, once she remembers something that broke your heart. So let's just say, when I do this spiritual healing work with people, one of the questions I ask them is, what was your first experience with love? Tell me your first heartbreak story. That first heartbreak story usually translates to every other heartbreak story, because they are so afraid of the heartbreak, they do the same things to not allow love to be given freely and received freely. And I see the same patterns that just echo throughout their life, depending on how old they are. So we have gotten to a point now where this journal it's not really a journal, I have to say it's a guide. It gives you tools, like I call it conversations, right? In conversations or communications, people usually try to win. I talked about rhetoric and debate culture, where they have points, and they have so many points, we call them bullet points. But points and bullets are weapons of mass destruction. So in order for humans to come down from that high of programming that says I have to win, I'm never wrong, even when I know I am, or I'm not necessarily listening to what you have to say, not with the idea to fix anything anyway, then you have a lot of animosity in relationships, not because people are bad people, but because we have been trained to behave. So it's like the Pavlov dog, the Russian scientist. You know, when he rang the bell, the dog started to produce saliva as if food was there, even though food was not. So people need to understand that it is not like presto bingo, you can change. Because whatever programming you have all your life, the second something reminds you of that pain, then the pain response happens the exact same way. So the journal and the book really helps people to raise the awareness of this programming that says mind first, the programming that says I have to win, the programming that says money is the most important thing, and maybe later I could enjoy my life. And I can tell you firsthand that does not work. I've made that mistake enough in my life. I've made many money. Let me call it money, and I've lost many money. And I've lost many money, right? So, but until you find your true calling and purpose, you're really just living a rat race. And I'm saying
how does one do that? How does one do that? Because it seems like so many people are just wandering rather than having a focus. It sounds simple, but obviously not, based upon the conditions of the society.
Yeah. The thing is, our soul has a voice. The voice doesn't speak like someone in your head. It speaks in nudges, right? The thing is, most people don't know when the soul is speaking when the fear, which is Amy, the amygdala, is speaking, or when doubt is speaking, also from Amy. So we have a thought or an idea, or someone gives us an idea. Let's just say some money-making plan or scheme, whatever. But you are using logic to figure out if this is right for you or not. You are trying to run numbers and crunch numbers, and you didn't stop to ask, how does it feel in my heart? You didn't sleep on it for 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, and before you go to bed, ask your soul, is this aligned with my future? Is this going to make me happy? Because you are looking at the time on your clock, but HRV is the time that tells you how many meetings you will go to in your entire lifetime. Because the difference between someone who lives to 100 years and someone who lives to 60 is a difference of 20 milliseconds in your HRV score. I want to repeat that, this blew my mind when I saw the research. The difference between someone who lives to 100 years old and someone who lives to 60 or less is 20 to 30 millisecond difference in their standard deviation, what you call it NN intervals, which is the space between the heartbeat. So when you have to think about your own survival, which we all do, financially anyway, we have to change the words. So we have to stop saying survival. We have to stop saying I'm on a hustle. I hustle hard. So hustle culture, it's not where we need to be. And even those who are
chasing the bag, that's what they call it.
What's that?
They call it here chasing the bag.
Yeah. Ain't no bag to chase, really. What you're chasing is a dream that isn't yours. And if you are after a dream that isn't yours, then you will have to chase it. In ancient Kemet, they never manifested because they never had to. Their whole purpose was following and listening to their intuition, so they developed it. So in the journal, one of my clients asked me, well, how do I know when my intuition is correct, right? So in the journal, I show you have 3 places thoughts come from: logic, fear and doubt, and your intuition. And we allow you to track over 6 months whenever you have an intuitive nudge or knowing, right? To journal it. So what happens over time now, you get to realize that logic alone led you wrong. So when you make a decision, you actually get to track how your decisions work in your life. And you get to trust and hone in on and be more certain of when your intuition speaks and when to listen and when to not listen. Because thoughts fly into this brain like butterflies and birds and ring, million thoughts. But which ones do you honor? Which ones do you say, this is not for me? I can tell you this for sure. I've made enough mistakes to say this in my life that
yeah, we all have, I guess.
That the only time I saw hardships in my life is when I wasn't necessarily running after money, but I was not following my purpose. I did things because I could do them. I did things because I could make money with them, but I didn't do them because my heart and soul was fully in it. And it wasn't fully out of it, but it wasn't it. You see? So I had a strange relationship with my soul, and I've been able to refine it. What I would say though is people need to do a media detox to reconnect to their soul and intuition. Because once you looking at media gives you a lot of inputs. Remember I said the hippocampus, most of what we learn we forget anyway, but it's there in what you call the subconscious mind. The amygdala, the hippocampus stores it forever. It's not a working memory, but it's there. And when a trigger comes up, then the memory comes up, right? So hippo gives you the file when there's a trigger. This I see you still can't get your camera working. That's crazy.
No, I can't. Listen, Jenna, I'm doing the best I can, buddy. This is the most. I don't get this. And I haven't touched anything. And yet my guests and my host, they appear just as nice. I have no idea, but continue talking because this is so intriguing what you're saying.
So we have to change how we behave, but that behavior is programmed. It is as programmed as 1 + 1 is 2. So I would not expect someone who cannot speak English, for example, to be able to say 1 + 1 is 2. Okay? So we have what we call an emotional vocabulary, which is how we behave based on our cultural upbringing. And then someone comes along and says, well, you are a big man or you are a big woman. Why are you like this? We expect that because we're big somehow that we should be able to change easily, but emotional change and behavioral changes do not happen overnight. It's like me going to China. No, I cannot speak the language. I cannot speak Mandarin. It will take me some time to learn it, and I will. But it's like somebody saying, "But you're a big man. Why can't you speak Mandarin?" So the book really breaks things down in a way that people need to understand, because once they understand it, then change can happen. Once change happens, your health changes. And once your health changes, everything else changes, because you don't have to run after the bag. You don't have to, you listen to those intuitive cues, which has never led me wrong. And I've never had a client tell me that the intuition led them wrong, not one. I'm not sure if any of you listening right now could maybe comment and tell me if your intuition ever led you astray. So let's do a poll and see, right? But I've never heard anyone who said that, that their intuition led them wrong, ever. So I'm going back now to change, which we all desperately need to do, or most of us anyway. And we find it hard to change habits and routines. I'll teach you one bonus part of your brain. I will make you remember that too. It's called the basal ganglia. I call it BASI for short because the BASI keeps playing the same songs over and over every day. 90% of your brain, of your thoughts and actions, are on repeat like a song. And in fact, people say, I've heard that tune before when you start speaking. We even say it in the language. But the basal ganglia, I call him BASI, just visualize a Jamaican bass player, right? Or a jazz bass player playing the same song. Anybody who plays the same song for over and over, even if you like the song sometimes, you get tired of the song. Although in human life, we need change, we need variation. But your brain, your basal ganglia, keeps your routines and habits. So this is why when people reach to the so-called big adult phase, they're already locked in, because the prefrontal cortex has learned whatever it was programmed to learn. Whatever slipped through, most of it was based on fear or doubt. By the way, fear and doubt gives hippo the memory as well. This is why.
Hold up. Fear and doubt does what again?
When you're afraid of something, that's the number one way for that to go into your memory, into the hippocampus. Because when you're afraid, your brain remembers. In other words, if you're learning to ride a bike, every time you fell and hurt yourself, the amygdala got afraid and it remembered how not to fall. So that's how eventually you learn how to ride a bike. And you learn to ride the bike so well that learning to fall now becomes impossible. So, and what I'm trying to say is the amygdala can make you learn something. And that's why we say you learn things the hard way. So when I sit and I go through what I call a life review with my clients, and I ask them, what's your best memory and worst memory? Do you know the worst memories, they always give me the worst memories and struggle for the best ones? Because the amygdala will not make you forget your first heartbreak. It will not make you forget any trauma that happens in your life. It's not, it is locked in.
Would you say it's like a protective device, so to speak?
It's like what, sorry?
A protective device to kind of,
It is.
yeah, kind of like to shield you.
Correct. So that you don't feel the pain again.
Well, what about doubt, though?
Well, doubt is the same thing. What happens is, if you try something and fail, like love, for example, you try love and your heart got broken. Remember, you made a decision to go with this person, okay? But it failed. So the amygdala says, we're not going there again easily because this was a catastrophe. Your first heartbreak, some people even take their own lives. So it is literally life and death with matters of the heart. Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
So the amygdala does not forget heartache. So doubt comes in because now you are doubting that this next person will be the person. So fear is there and doubt is there. And when fear and doubt is there, the prefrontal cortex, cannot make a good decision. And your soul voice, by the way, your intuition gets totally cut off because it doesn't speak loudly. It speaks when you are fully calm. And your soul tells you this is right. This feels right. And that trusting that feeling, it's a process. Because sometimes the feeling might not be a genuine feeling. You know what I mean? Sometimes the feeling can lead you astray. This is why soul is not an official science, because people don't understand how to attune or be attuned to that feeling so they know it's genuine. Because the soul doesn't make a mistake. It says, this is your purpose and that's it. So what makes Lloyd happy may not make me happy, because my soul purpose is different to yours. So, but you have to learn to be attuned to your purpose that says, you know what, Lloyd, I need 1 month vacation. And many people know they need 1 month vacation and say, I'll do it next month. I'll do it next year. But that's your soul telling you you need to slow down and take a break. Logic tells you, I have this work to do. But reality tells you that the work is going to be there whether you are here or not. And life is not forever, unfortunately, as my gray hairs on my face remind me every morning.
And your busy children in the household, too. You know, I have no idea. I can see you and I just as plain as day. I've tried to do everything other than take us off the air. But the point is, people can see you. Fortunately, you are so articulate that I could just let you run, but I wanted to kind of interact. But what I'm going to do too, and we still got a couple of minutes before the hour wraps up, but we got to bring you back next month or whatever the case is. I need to get this straight. I have no idea what's going on with it. I know Mercury's going retrograde soon. There's still no excuse. But anyway, now let me before we do this, I need to ask you this. Can you see your book on the screen?
No.
You can't see your book on the screen?
Hold on, Hold on. Let me see. Yes, I can.
Okay. And then you saw Switch Me Seat the other book, right?
Yes.
Okay. So now tell us about this book and then what led to the journal.
Right. So as I said, the book came about because someone had to be brave enough to see soul as a source of energy and an energy that had requirements for health and biology. And so the book teaches from chapter 1 to 12 how to live soul first. And in doing so, you are able to improve in every aspect of your life. I have herbs from everywhere in the world. I have 0 herbs that can give somebody purpose. I have 0 herbs that can teach you to be human enough to make it easy for you to love freely without fear and doubt, to receive love freely, to forgive freely. I don't have any herbs for that. And those, as I call them, soul supplements, turn out to be the biggest predictor for longevity, the biggest medicine for you to find purpose, happiness in every aspect of your life, to so-called manifest everything you ever wanted. And as we say, the soul requires 3 things from us humans. The first thing the soul requires is for us to love ourselves, to have a relationship, to master the relationship with yourself. The second thing your soul wants you to do, which happens as a result of truly prioritizing yourself, your love, your purpose, your truth, your forgiveness. What comes naturally after that is health and vitality. Because if the first one you didn't do a good job, then health and vitality is measurably affected based on existing research. Apart from my own observations, which I have hundreds of clients have seen this phenomenon play out. And then the third thing that happens when health is optimal is wealth. Because wealth is not the money you run after. Wealth is the energetic frequency you are in. Because if you are in a wealth frequency, wealth is secondary. It may sound simple, Lloyd, but who doesn't want to be around someone who, when they walk into a room, no one can explain it, but people say he's so magnetic or she's so magnetic. People just become attracted to you. People just want to help you. They want to give you stuff just because of your energy.
Yeah.
So it starts with this inner cleaning. Right? So that's what the book talks about. Chapter 1 is part memoir. I talk about my fast in the forest. After fasting for 40 days, I was able to heal by touch with my hands. So I've had people who literally after they were in pain for many, many years. Just recently, I had a client I worked with. I don't do the work anymore, but she's somebody who I respect a lot. She had a shoulder pain. She was almost 70 years old. And within 5 minutes, her shoulder pain was 90% gone. And she couldn't believe it. I didn't use any herbs, but I used what the people of Kemet call Sekem, which is your soul's energy. The soul heals. Your soul energy heals rapidly. She was taking the best herbs I know and the best drugs to remove that shoulder pain. It was not moving anywhere. And with energy, it just took me 5 minutes, but that only happened because I fasted in silence in the forest for 40 days and 40 nights. So my journey was interesting. All of it is now in the book. I discovered an angel and lion in the forest. I took Lloyd to the forest, but I didn't take him that far to the angel and the lion.
Yeah,
that's way up deep in the forest. But it was such a magical, mystical experience for me. And it helped me so much. I remember my wife with my second child, she fell. And she was in very, very horrible pain that I would have had to rush her to the hospital, really. And I just put my hands over her, and within maybe 2 or 3 minutes, she was back to normal. Pain went away. Just so many. I was a logical tech guy. We were the first people in Trinidad to install voice over IP for the government back in the year 2000. I was doing technology. I was fixing computers and installing IP PBX phone systems, and not my purpose, but I could do it.
Yeah.
And I did it. So I've been in so many different things in my life, but my purpose is what I'm doing now. My purpose on this earth, I know for sure, is to guide people to listen to and to honor their soul intuition, to understand how the soul actually works, because especially for, I don't want to say especially for people of African descent, even though we are absolutely the ones affected the most, but there's so many other indigenous people who are as affected in many ways. But blacks have deep rooted programming that is still there from that era, 400 years of slavery. That, I joke sometimes and say the slave master didn't say, "Can you pick me some cotton, please?"
Yeah.
Or "Can you pick me some cane, please, to make my sugar?" No, he didn't. I wouldn't say the words he would have said here on this podcast, but it would have sounded like the most horrific command a human could ever have, to go and do what they want you to do because you were their property. So at the end of slavery, the only time you were valued, the only time a black person was valued, a black man was valued, is when he impregnated women to make more slaves. And when he worked his butt off day and night to give the master what he wanted. The only time the woman was valued is when she made a baby and when she also gave her lifeblood. So for many black people, the only time we feel valued is when we work our butt off, when we chase the money, because it's almost as though we're still trying to prove our value. I had a client once, a beautiful young lady. She said to me, and it was so impactful to me, I even put her in the book. She said she was such an achiever. She has her own house, her own car, and she's in her 30s. And doing that in Trinidad is very difficult, by the way. Trinidad and the US is totally different. The dynamics here for her to achieve that, she worked hard, she worked very hard, but she burnt out. And she said, "I just want to be loved for being me, not for what I could produce, not for what I could bring to the table. just I just want to be loved because somebody sees me." And in that moment, I shared her feeling, because for me, I was always valued for what I could bring to the table. And it's not to blame anybody, because this is just how it is. So my children, I don't want them to come first in tests, because it teaches them that I only value them when they are first. And the truth is, they're valued for just being themselves. And if they can just be the best of themselves and learn to have a balanced life where they honor their soul and their intuition and their purpose, then, as I say to them, that's all that make me happy, really. I have no pressure on my children at all. So
I've never put pressure on mine either.
So that's where I am with my philosophy.
Well, I'm going to have to continue this philosophy at some point next month, maybe toward near the end of the month after the Thanksgiving holidays, because I need to really, I can see you, but I have no idea what's going on. And all I know is, and in fact, you'll have more information out. The book will be published so people can have the books in their hands too, because I'm more of a holder of books. Some people like audio books more, ebooks, man. Everybody's got their own choice. Me, I like a book in my hand. So it's going to be nice. And then I want to write a wonderful review. But before we go, though, how can people start to examine or go about finding their purpose, since it is so key to the extension of their life?
Well, as I said, we need to quiet our space. We need to stop wasting time on movies or social media or whatever we look at. It's not as though we can't, but when I fasted for 40 days, I literally I had access to no media. I took a media detox. So a media detox is a great way to get that inner voice to be amplified, because there's no noise,
That makes sense.
And then not just media, but even from people too, because I was in the forest by myself for 40 days and 40 nights for 8 hours a day. So I created the quiet for my ancestral gifts like healing to occur, my clarity of where I had to go in my life to get into becoming a healer, which took me to the US, of course, to train with Dr. Africa. This is back in 2012. And since that, it was just quite an amazing journey so far. So everybody's purpose is there. And I can tell you that once you follow that, your massive success is literally 1, 2, 3 steps away from where you are right now. You are 3 steps, sometimes 2 steps, sometimes 1 decision away from whatever issues you're having to just be solved. But it has to happen soul first.
That's do you do consultations?
Yes, we do online assessments, and we work with people. I mean, I have the HRV medical device in my office, which I can't do over Skype or whatever. Mm-hmm. But what I can do is at least do the process. I don't have to have the machine to measure it, but I do, because I like the science of it. I like to measure to see where we are, and then to make you aware where you are. So then we have a gauge. But in the absence of that, your smartphone has a stress test. That stress test is powered by HRV. It's not as accurate as a medical device, but it does give you an idea whether your HRV is high or low. It doesn't give you the specific number.
Best thing. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. So we can measure that there and have some type of baseline, and then we can measure your blood pressure. So because you will see those markers improve, and you will see your physical health improve as well once we start doing the work. Yes.
Uchenna, thank you very, very much. Please, everybody, please take note of my very special guest and dear friend. As I said before, it's because of this gentleman that a Star 8, my mobile app, is coming into reality. Udemy courses, all of this, and especially making 2 trips there and going up in the mountains and eating mangoes out the stream. That was the most amazing thing to me. It's fascinating. Uchenna, God bless you, man. And I want you to take care of yourself. I'm going to have you back toward the very end of next month so we can do a follow-up. I will have this resolved. I can see you and me just as clear as daylight.
Wow.
But you know what I did? I would say if I did something silly, like make a silly face or stick my tongue out at everybody, all of a sudden my camera will come back on, but I ain't gonna take no chances. I said, let me do something silly. Now,
yes, quite possible. I said quite possibly, my guess.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I want to thank you so much again for having me. I enjoy seeing you while I'm speaking. You know, I feel as I'm speaking, without interacting. But next time will be better. But I guess the shadow of Mercury is affecting us tonight. But
yeah, but still no excuses, man, because I wanted us to hang. Yeah. But this is good. This is good. So God bless you, Uchenna.
So get the book and get the journal. That's the entry points. The book, the journal. I have an app coming out as well, which I call the Soul Set app, which you can track your sleeping patterns on HRV from your smartwatch. I have a study coming out with a medical doctor to study meaning as medicine for heart disease, especially to show the emotional side of the heart, how it increases inflammation. So that's a groundbreaking study that we're going to launch next year in January. So a lot of work I'm doing to formalize this in a way that our community has a science, because this is an African science and is validated with modern tools. And for me, it's really fascinating. And I'm excited to give it some medical merit, So,
well, I want everybody to buy the book. They have it in their possession, and to kind of spread the word on this. Again, you will be back toward the end of next month. That is a certainty. I guarantee you. I'm going to have all of this resolved. Okay. This makes absolutely no sense, but thank you, man. Give my best to Jan and the kids and all those things. And I will be talking to you.
Yes, and blessings to you and all of your wonderful viewers. It was so good to share this time and space with all of you. And I look forward to seeing you again. Until then, blessings and take care. Peace.
Thank you. Peace, peace. You too. All right, everybody. I have no idea. I don't know where you can see me. Check your settings to go virtual background. Okay. But whatever it is, I will do my best. So, but I do want to let you know that the sponsors have been brought to you by Numeralytics, Miss Melinda Valentine, also her journal. Please, that is for right now. We're in the water period. For my wonderful guests to just articulate it, and I hope you understand soul, okay, and what it really, really means, and how it has a relationship. And maybe that's why forgiveness, which is interesting, because in this political atmosphere, everybody want to blame everybody, but no one either wants to forgive, much less take responsibilities. Maybe if they had this book in their possessions, it might make a difference. But what do I know about politics? But anyway, this is his book. This is his companion journal to it. Also, Miss Kimberly Manifest on Purpose. And this is her book that you can purchase. And also, if you get to her ebook, you will get a companion piece with it. Now, now it's acting up. I can't even get to every. This is interesting. Okay. Oh, there we go. All right. So also King Simon, having his 33rd year of doing what he does best. He is one of the best kind of communicators and promoters in the city. Also Nicholas Brooklyn. They are going to be having an event, this famous author, coming up on Saturday the 1st at 1396 Fulton Street. Also, please try out Reset, which is an AI type situation to help you kind of like schedule your guests and appointments and things of that nature. Also, the November newsletter is out. Okay. Yes, it's still October, but for those of you who've opened up your mail this morning, the November newsletter should be in your email box. Okay. Also, on Saturday, the 1st at 7 p.m., you will hear the audio version of Miss Kimberly and ourselves explaining the November horoscope, but that will be on her show, KIMBALEY, and that'll be at 7 o'clock on Saturday, the 1st. So also, I did want to thank Jazz, Aphrodite, or Jackie, as I call her, who did a phenomenal job this past Monday sitting in for me. And I think I want her to do that more on a regular basis to give the brother a break. And a week from today, she and one of my good friends, Eric Taylor, will be on. He will be discussing the astrology. She will be discussing the cardology. And please make sure you pick up a copy of my app, Astar 8, ASTAR 8. You can pick it up on Android, or you can pick it up on Apple. So anyway, I think that is it for today. Everybody, I do want to thank you. It's interesting. I can see myself just as nice, but y'all seeing a dark screen. I will work this out. But in the meantime, everybody have a great, great weekend. You make sure you take care of yourselves. Let me see something here. Okay, good. Everybody, thank you very, very much. I will hopefully resolve this at some point. Thank you.